All right, well, welcome back again, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for our first map of the evening here from the North American ESL Pro League. It's Overpass. We've managed to escape Cash and, well, possibly Cobblestone for a few days here as well. It's going to be CLG taking on NRG, and our first map here is going to be Overpass. Dave, let's talk a little bit about the individuals on these teams and how this matchup could shape out because of that.
Well, I think NRG has a big advantage on Overpass just due to, like, their individual fire. I think as individuals, NRG is definitely superior.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about, I would take Grease, Markey, PTR, and Fugly almost over all of them except for maybe Ricky as like individuals part of CLG. So like firepower, just individual talent definitely goes to NRG, right? But Overpass at the same time is a lot of it takes a lot of teamwork. Like you have to be on point with when you flash, when you push back an offer, how you rotate your smokes, what you do when they do X and X and X, right? Holding map control, watching your flank. There's a, you know, Overpass is one of the more complicated maps, definitely in my opinion. CLG, they used to have decent success on this map as well. Like Inferno and Overpass were actually probably, you know, two of the maps I was most impressed with them on.
Yeah.
Having said that, I think if CLG is going to win a map here, I think it would be on Inferno. I favor Overpass quite a lot towards NRG, especially with Daps calling. I think Daps has a good understanding of this map, especially, you know, coming from Optic and whatnot.
All right, well, we're jumping into it now. NRG will be starting their way off here onto the T side with CLG jumping onto defense, and immediately, while NRG aren't going to waste any time in trying to go for the connector control, the problem is CLG have quite a few players to defend it as well. First kill to NRG, but then two more kills striking back from CLG, and now a third as well at the hands of Kusta. He takes down Markey, but in the meantime, though, we have two more trying to push their way over towards B, but it's not going to work out. Breezy gets shut down, and for Daps, all on his own here now. He's got one up against a 1v4, so more than likely CLG are going to be in full control of the situation.
Yeah, great pistol round for them. One player who's actually pretty good on this map is Ricky as well, just from playing with him in rank S and whatnot. Really knows his way around it. But Daps now in just a 1v4 with two flashes. We'll see if he can get this bomb and maybe get a plant. Best case scenario. It can be very difficult for him to win this round, especially without any armor, just getting aim punched and whatnot. CLG kind of just gives up the bomb though. They just go back to play sight, so this is very intelligent by them. Daps is going to waste a lot of time just kind of looking for him before he even knows that the bomb's clear. And then if they just take far angles like at A to spot him or anything like that, you know, how are you going to hit A here, right, if they're just jump spotting? It's just like by the time you actually go to the site, there's going to be like 3 people, crossfires. It's just almost an impossible situation. So if I was him, I'd definitely try to go to B. Nice little flash.
So it goes out the window there to try and give him a little bit of room to work with, and he'll follow that through with another B attempt too, but he's already sprayed against himself there as he goes in. There's 2 players waiting from either angle. Unless he went off with headshots, he would have been dead regardless. So it's Kusta that finishes things off, and there you have it. CLG first up on the board here.
Yeah, like I said, without any armor, it's just so difficult. So a little triple connector stack. And FNS, this pistol has been on point. We saw him with that great clip on Inferno. Coming up with 2 nice kills and staying alive in connector. Now they just SMG with 3, M4 on Cutler, and FAMAS on Ethan.
And for NRG themselves, onto the upgraded pistols here with 4 of them picking up armor. They are actually going to follow through with pretty much the same plan as the last one, just very much so slowed down. A lot of their guys going into that lower tunnel to start things off, leading it through to the connector, with 2 more kind of split across, going up towards Playground, and another one leading up towards B, but definitely, you know, barely even leaving T-spawn, to be honest, and looking towards that direction. He's going to be picking up the bomb. He'll regroup, and with these other 3, they're just working their way up the connector to take short A control. Probably will shift their way pretty quickly over towards this site, too. They hit it quickly enough. They could, in theory, overwhelm it here. It's Kusta and Cutler trying to defend it, but they already know something's coming, and they've started to deploy their own utility here, which is going to slow down NRG to a pretty large degree and cause some rotations from the CT side upstairs here.
Yeah, and because of how slow they took it, I think it makes the round more difficult. I think they had an opportunity to kind of storm the site. Now slowing it down, you know, you're going to allow Cutler to use his M4, to use his range, and kind of get that 3rd player there.
for them from the NRG side, trying to move up to the site. Kusta really just tapping away, getting some great damage onto these players. Picking up, I believe, 2 kills at the end of that round, with Cutler finding 2 there as well. Pretty clean one. And unfortunately, the guys from NRG don't seem to be able to pick up much on their attempt to take A control.
Yeah, just 5 alive. Great anti-eco by them. Good control by Kusta. You saw he didn't just wildly spray or anything like that. And he didn't have to. You know, he wasn't under any panic or anything because they did have a nice crossfire set up. He had backup and everything. So when you're confident your teammates can pick up the slack if you do die, you can kind of take your time. Now we just see 5 Glock, so we'll see if we see any type of aggression. We do Cutler peeking Fountain. Kusta kind of flashing for him. Surprised Kusta wasn't the one getting more aggressive. You know, they don't have armor. You could just mow him down with those SMGs. But instead they go into a very passive hold.
Yeah, just playing it safe right now to try and stack up the cash, but NRG probably won't be able to get much regardless of the route that CLG take here, since they are just working with 0 investment onto this round here. In fact, 1,000 across the board, as you can see on the top, but that is just going to be from the pistols themselves that they carry, so literally nothing brought into it. As you take a look at Ricky, though, some of the others here from the CLG side and trying to hold this off. The nade's going to go deep. It doesn't actually do that much damage. I think it knocks like 20 or 30 HP off of 2 players, but NRG's whole plan has already been spotted. Granted, there's a minute left on the clock, but and them falling back and taking all this damage, not really expecting all that much to be done here. More than likely, it's just going to be the easy 3rd round from CLG.
Yeah, no way Daps gets this kill on the FNS, and that should start the slaughter.
Rest of the team pretty slow to follow through.
The longest Glock round I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're really trying to take it slow, but hey, gets some at least 1 kill there. Peter knocking down Ricky. Great spray from Ethan, though, to work together there to shut down the remaining players. And as expected, overall, it's CLG picking up a 3rd.
Ricky gonna buy an op, so this might be something that they've changed, because remember when Ricky first joined, Kusta was still opping. Now we see Ricky pick it up. We'll see if that's something that they continue with, or if, you know, it's maybe just for one of these rounds.
Out of the gates here now, since they have guns in hand. Peter is also going to be able to invest here. Utility will be rather light from NRG. Thankfully, they do have the basics to form a smoke take or something like that, or a smoke setup onto one of the 2 bomb sites. But Peter himself, with that up, is going to be playing at the edge of long, and he may be able to find himself a couple players if CLG do decide to venture forward here too. At the moment, just holding a safe position behind the rock. They're not going to go any further than that. But if they do get a bit impatient here with the timer running down and Peter were to stick around, there could have been room for impact. It does seem as though that Peter, after not seeing an initial rush out from long, he's going to fall back to regroup with the main bulk of his team, as it does seem like they're going to go for a pretty direct play through Monster, and I imagine 1 or 2 as well will be able to shift over inside of construction to push into B.
Yeah, so Cutler and Ethan, it's going to be a very difficult hold. Their rotate is very far away, but if they can make it like a 3v3 and this flank can come timely and quickly enough, then all of a sudden COG could definitely take this round. But it's going to be tough. They don't, you know, have any sort of idea of where they are. They just know they're not long, but they could have been up bathrooms and things like that.
So here they go. The main pushing force starting its way in through Monster over here. As Daps pushes in, he does catch a player in the pit, but he fails to pick up the kill. So Cutler will be ready for it. He finds the first one, and it's all for free here too. They underestimate that someone else would push through on that ramp there, though. So Breezy is going to find not one, but the second player inside of the pit there. Cutler and Ethan both go down, and Kusta's attempt to sneak back in through construction utterly fails. Peter's walking away out of ammo or something like that happened. But whatever happened, it leads to his own death. Still, it's going to be rather irrelevant, though, since Ricky is left as the last man standing in a 1v3 with 0 damage done and very little intel in terms of what's actually sitting down on that site with a very expensive gun in his hands. It will prove much more fruitful of him to fall back and save that gun for the next round.
Yeah, and I'm surprised COG wasn't able to actually hold that at the end of the day with Cutler and Ethan. I mean, Daps came in, he died 5-6 seconds, right, before any of his teammates were anywhere near him. And that right there should spell disaster for the team. So when one guy just goes up and dies for free, and then they know the take's happening, usually you're able to hold from there. But then Breeze, you know, coming through in the pit, just kind of trades those out very nicely. Cutler doesn't think that more pushing because of how disjointed the take was. But still, I kind of expected more from CLG there, you know, in those circumstances. Nonetheless, this is going to be a pretty critical round. Whoever wins this is going to force that other team onto an eco, most likely, or maybe a pistol armor force buy.
Yeah, it does seem as though CLG are going to try to play a little bit more aggressive this time, at least with the hands of Kusta. They've actually gone upgraded to a double op setup now as Kusta picks up the second op. Ricky was able to save his, so they still have that going. The rest of the team actually had pretty good money because of how clean the first 3 rounds were for them. So they've got this next buy coming in, and NRG, of course, moving forward. Again, not really doing anything super adventurous at the beginning. It's actually pretty much just a default open here. They're a little passive on pushing out towards short A and whatnot here, but I think that's pretty well placed given how aggressively CLG did push out in the last round. They've got plenty of time as well here to still move forward and try to get some control across the map.
Yeah, Ricky getting quite aggro. Might be able to catch Daps coming out of this door.
But not going to be seen just yet, as Daps is going to be falling back upstairs with everyone else in NRG now moving out towards long. They figure it out that it's basically open here, and Ethan has a good spot over top here to see if anybody goes over there towards Monster. He does end up jumping directly into the flash from Fugly though, but still not able to see much. And now the T's themselves are doing a bit of a boost up to see if they can catch a guy here by the APC. Again, bit of stroke of luck there for the CTs. Had that flash if not connected, Peter would have had a relatively easy shot onto the jumping guy back over there behind the truck. Now, though, since nothing has been spotted from either side of things, and the time is getting extremely low, all the CTs will start to bundle up their utility, and NRG will use their own here. Long is being blocked off, and it's a perfect timing on the swing out from Cutler. Unfortunately, he will get traded, though, by Peter. Molotov's going to send Kust out, but nobody's watching that side, so it's a flurry of trades. But NRG gets the better of it at the end of the day, leaving it in a 3v2 with fast rotations coming in. However, FNS leaps through the semi-truck, picks up 1, and pretty much kills the second as well. Peter down at 17 HP, heavily lit. 1 bullet will finish the job on him, and they know he's sitting in that corner. All that's left to worry about now is Daps. They'll flash so that Ethan can get out into the open and pursuit over onto Peter to take him down. And now it's Daps to clutch 1v2 against his opponents here, but he won't even get one of them. Ethan shuts it down, and there'll be plenty of time left for a defuse and for CLG to pick up their 4th round.
Yeah, a good retake by CLG, but still, that... I mean, they're going to put NRG on... They might buy here since they only live with 2 alive and they know their money is really weak. But still, you know, they kind of knew that they were coming A. They had the boost, they had the information, they saw the fallback flash. You actually expect CLG to win that round, and win that round like a little bit easier than they did. Now, NRG, you're going to see they're going to buy very conservatively. And this is usually what they do. They usually don't buy super aggressive like we see some other teams where if they have a chance to break their money, even if they're on like 2-6, they buy. NRG is a very conservatively purchased team.
Kust, in the meantime, did spot the jump over from Fugly there. And none of this, but FNS picked up a kill. However, FNS, it's the only kill he's going to get as they're being swarmed into this site. Kusta also falls. Ethan holding an angle, but the smoke from the T's does scare him off a little bit. He'll fall back behind Graffiti and inside of the big CT cubby. Pulling away from this one and allow NRG to move him, but even they're a bit hesitant too. It's kind of standoffish right now, with nobody really being able to get good control due to this passiveness. And that nade, just short of being able to do massive damage, had it gone a little bit further before exploding. So Marky down to 70 after, but not much else beyond that. And for NRG, they now get that bomb onto the ground. Like we said before, though, it's a bit of a hesitant hold as the CTs were sitting inside of their main entryway this entire time, and now they are going to start to move in it for the retake. They've already got 2 out of the 3 kills. Peter was trying to rotate, but he's going to rotate himself right back into T-spawn to save here now, as it'll certainly be an easy retake for CLG after everything is said and done.
Yeah, I mean, got a little bit scary there. 3v3, you have an op on PTR, but he just plays it way too passively. You actually want to... It's one of those retakes where... You know, generally in 3v3s, you can kind of wait and play reactionary towards the CTs because you might have nades, you might have AK armor or whatever. But in that scenario, when all your teammates have is like Tech 9s, it's kind of on you to make a little bit of a play, be more aggressive in order for you to win the round. Like, it's on you. And, you know, so you want to be a little bit more aggressive, get a kill, make it 2v3, kind of wait until they attack your teammates, then repeat and take it from there. But yeah, just going back to watching the flag, probably isn't going to usually win that round. So now we see... CLG, though, playing very, very well. 5-1. NRG gets a little bit of a boost to their economy because they are able to save that off. And Ricky, again, getting aggressive in this short area. And a lot of these plays by NRG are, like, very telegraphed. CLG is, you know, they're taking, like, pretty decent map control in these last 2 gun rounds.
They continue to push forward here on that CT side to move out early on, at least to counter any of the faster aggression from NRG, but we really haven't seen a whole lot of it just now. Breezy starts his first push over here into the short A entryway by going through Party. He's starting to molly off long a little bit there too. Burning out the tree guy, I believe, is where that one's going to land. For Marky and the rest, they'll be safe to push back out since CLG have gone for this kind of push and then quickly fall back style of strategy, which has been working good for them. Now, though, they do have FNS positioned aggressively this time out towards long, but it does seem as though that NRG are pretty much going to be abandoning the pursuit towards long. The bomb itself is still at a point where it's weaning between both of the sites. Back over there, now falling back towards T-spawn currently, or it was kind of hiding out in the connector before. And as the rest of the team gets control of the entryway towards short A, it seems like they are once again going to dive down the connector and try to make this a B play.
Yeah, but, I mean, FNS has the information. Look, he's going to push, so if... I mean, they need to hit it now, and they need to hit it pretty quickly, but the rotate's coming. We'll see how Ethan can do with this site.
He's already hiding below in pit, so he is going to give NRG the room to get onto the site, but this already happened once before, and they were able to retake. Beautiful shot from Daps, though, to trade after Ricky finds the first kill, but he's unable to hold that control as Cutler immediately... FNS loses himself there in a bit of an awkward duel as Marky is able to spin around and locate him. So now we're back down even again. 3v3 with Cutler holding control of the pit and kind of waiting for his teammates to get into a better position. There's not a whole lot to be scouted from the pit itself, even leading up to the ramp. They're not being given anything. When Cutler peeks, he's not ready for his first duel. Fugly even finding a second one against Kusta, who's going to halfway swung around into the open, and now it's on to Ricky. There's no evacuation for him. He's already fully committed to this one, but at the same time, NRG are also leaving. They do have Fugly sitting in the back, though, waiting for that eventual peak, and he'll finish the job and end up with a nice 3K on the round.
Wow. Shacked and a fool, man. That's what we need for CS. We need a Shacked and a Foo, and that would definitely be on there. So yeah, that literally probably would have won them the round, though. I'm almost certain CLG has like an 80% chance to win after if he gets that kill, which he obviously should have got very cleanly if he didn't, accidentally unsilence his gun. So now CLG, they have an op onto Ricky, but look at their utility. Just 4 flashbangs and a smoke grenade.
I mentioned the 2 CZs as well, sitting on Kusta and FNS. So not a whole lot that's going to be workable here for CLG on this round. You'll note that instead of actually, sticking to their strat, which has been to fall back pretty quickly after playing it aggressively, they're still out here. They're still waiting in the bathrooms this time. They're going to try to take a much more active role in holding this off. And it seems like NRG may be the ones to fight against them here. Kusta waiting behind this first little toilet area, and there's another one in the connector itself leading upstairs. There is going to be FNS, a little bit higher up towards long. Kusta, though, may have his first battle in just a moment as Daps is pushing in. It's FNS, though, that has to go first. Kusta, he somehow gets 2 for himself until he finally meets the barrel of PTR. Breezy also picks up the kill on FNS shortly after that. Still evenly traded, though, into 3v3, and there's a possible flank coming in a moment here from Cutler. If they don't pay attention to the upper bathroom connector, he could push right downstairs and destroy 2 of these remaining players. He's going to have to move quick, though, as they are evacuating, heading right down towards B once again.
Yeah, I think he heard him, though. Ricky already here, posted up with the op at a great angle.
Finds the first kill with absolutely no problem at all. The Molotov went a little bit deep there, I think, towards Toxic, so a smoke will be used instead. Ethan, a little bit of a mistake there, but thankfully, here comes that flank, and Ricky and Cutler are going to be able to finish off the last 2 kills.
Yeah, they get those 2 kills. They get the double op set up back. They force NRG either onto a force or, we'll see. Like I think most teams buy here if they're NRG, and they do buy. So they get the 3 AKs, they get a couple pistols. I think this is a good choice. But like I said before, like NRG is one of the most conservatively purchased teams. Look for Kusta and Ricky, though, to be aggressive. Like, this is where you really want one of your ops to just make it 4v5. If you could make it 4v5, and then you can kind of play passive with nades out while your opper spots any type of aggression, you should be able to win the round pretty easily. You should assume that they don't have an op on NRG to really challenge you, and you probably can be pretty aggressive.
All the rest of NRG is going to be moving up here now through long. 3 of their players already, no hesitation at all here. Just pushing directly forward, trying to box out CLG's control as quickly as they can. Once more, they do pretty much completely avoid, at least for the time being, moving out and around the flower box to take control there. And it's a good thing, too, as CLG has had a pretty monstrous setup here for multiple rounds, when it seems as though that it may finally be challenged in a second. However, Cutler swings out, but just barely misses the head angle. Kusta, though, with a great lineup. Just as the smoke is pluming, he's able to find Breezy going out to the open, and he almost has himself a second shot there, too. A little bit further to the right, and he would have been able to sink a second kill. FNS waiting. He'll be flashed, but he still picks up another frag before going down to Fugly. And out Kusta sits, and he waits once more to pick up yet another kill here against NRG. They're losing so many players as they go into the site, and in fact, well, Ethan himself there almost had a chance, and he does execute upon it, but he also gives Peter enough time to re-peek and trade him out. Now, though, he's alone, and he's up against both of these CLG players right from the front lines. They'll handle him before he can eliminate either one of them, and it's CLG now continuing forward up to 7 this time.
Yeah, and if you look at COG's CT side defense so far, I mean, that time they played it pretty standard and default. But we've seen the triple long A setup. We've seen them push aggro short a couple times in the sewers, short B. We've seen them get a little aggro at Fountain. We haven't seen them play really in connector much. But we've seen them vary their setup, right? And kind of give NRG a lot of different looks. And a lot of the time so far on this T half, NRG will just feign map control on one of the sides, but they won't like full push it back because they're just going to pistol armor B rush here.
They're just going to swing their way in. Held back, of course, by the Molotov, so the rush itself is going to have to be somewhat delayed. They ultimately just, change its way up, but Fugly with a nice headshot lineup there. Kind of destroys Ethan, gives them a bit of an upgrade if they do want to utilize it here. FNS finding one, Peter with the trade again. They've got sight control, so more than likely they'll get the plant at the very least. Quick rotates are on their way from the CTs though, so now comes the problem of actually holding the site with this little bit of utility and overall gunpowder that they still have. I think Cutler did see a player going towards the pit there, so he should be able to molly him out, and indeed the flames do drape over it, which is going to be allowed to kill him. Ricky from up on top works with Cutler to dispatch up 2 of the last 3, and Fugly doesn't even get through that smoke before being destroyed by Ricky. So another nice retake from CLG, and they're having no problems racking up more and more rounds on the scoreboard here. As they're up to 8, a 6-round advantage against NRG.
Yeah, I mean, you know, NRG is getting a lot of kills that I think are very crucial, critical kills early in the round that gives them the advantage. But CLG always able to kind of just take it back. They've won quite a few 3v3s, 2v2s, and, you know, not really let NRG leverage that, like, early round critical frag into a win. And NRG, I gotta say, you know, what I was talking about earlier, they're feigning map control at places, but they're not actually taking full map control. You know, they'll smoke out long A, but they didn't even clear, I believe it was Cutler or FNS when he was close, right? They kind of knew they were B, or, you know, going back to B. They boosted on the sandbags. There was no short B control, right, in the sewer area. So what? They knew they were going A. Like, CLG has been one step ahead in these CT sides and has really played very, very well when it comes to just knowing where NRG is before they're going to hit it. Even, you know, the first gun round when they had 3 long A, they knew they were hitting B, you know, and it was a round I said they probably should have won, right? Daft ran into the pit. 5 seconds later, his teammates come. Ethan hasn't been doing great in that area, and because of it, they're, you know, they lost that round. But every round so far, CLG has been a step ahead strategically, positionally speaking.
Not a whole lot of investigation going on early here for CLG besides Kusa being on the boost up towards long. We do still have them holding rather forward positions though when you look at Cutler still sitting over there in the top site, in the top bathroom connector itself, but the NRG guys have not really given anything away just yet, so there is causing some disillusion on the CLG side. We can see their players on the B-bomb site kind of shifting around, but maybe an attempt to boost up and check over there towards construction once more to try and get that until they won't see anything there. So they should be able to see that it's relatively open. And Kusta still sitting safely up on top of the flower boost box, gets himself essentially a free kill against Marky, who comes swinging out towards long, losing his life in the process. And now the remaining players are going to try to go downstairs through Monster in towards B. They did just pick up 2 kills on the way, and there is a player from the CT side still down here, and Ricky's also up in heaven. Unfortunately for Ethan, though, the one player that is still in the site, he's going to have problems actually impacting. So right now, he's just playing the patient game, waiting for the smoke, but there's nobody paying attention to this, so he's going to walk right up. Won't be able to stop the bomb from going down, but he does take down Peter before he can safely retreat. Now it's even again into a 3v3, and the cavalry's on the way, although it'll be quite delayed. Smoke up in heaven. The op's not going to be able to impact that much. And for Ricky himself, he's downstairs, but there's not a lot to be seen. The CTs are going to have to be the one to make a move this time. They're not being given a lot of opportunities to do so. Thankfully, they are being given opportunities to flush these players out, but it's still evenly traded, and these CTs are running out of time very rapidly. Fugly's picked up 2. It's all on Ricky to push forward. Tagged down to 15 after facing off against this player, battling out underneath the tracks. And as the time is continuing to get extremely low, Ricky decides it is better to fall away and save the op and just let NRG get their 3rd round finally.
Yeah, and do you see what I'm talking about? Just the kills that NRG are getting are like, and some of them are kind of crazy how they are getting those kills. I mean, that guy was running around party. I believe it was Cutler or FNS that was in the bathrooms. Just like these small errors that COG is making is causing them, you know, to make this game a lot closer than it should be. I know it's 8-3, but there's been so many swing rounds that are economy rounds that could really shape the difference of this game, and it could have NRG with a lot more rounds. Just, I mean, that kill in bathroom should have never happened, right? We saw when Kusta missed the op shot at long B and they ran up with the Tech 9. You know, and almost made a round out of it. That shouldn't have happened. We saw when FNS flanked the door at short B and missed that kill, the Shaq Nafu play. That shouldn't have happened, right? So
it's the getting away on quite a few of these rounds here. And speaking of getting away too, the flashbang timing from, I think that was a CT actually that tops that over top, completely screws over Cutler when he tries to swing out the door here. Even tries to pre-fire one of these positions, but it's completely off. So hands the kill over to Marky. And now Finesse has his chance of redemption from this position. Picks up one onto Daps. Ethan's going to try to be sneaky here, Construction. He knows he's got Fugly hiding in that corner somewhere, but he takes the challenge on Marky, and it actually works to bait Fugly out, gets him into the open, takes him down, and now they've got the man advantage again to work with here. Whereas NRG, they almost kind of haphazardly just swung into B looking for revenge. They called it off at the last second, though, and now they're trying to re-strategize as Breezy moves in to see what's going on over there at A Long. They won't find much. CLG themselves are still kind of moving around, but Breezy's position does serve a great purpose, as with FNS changing his position, he is caught out in his attempt to move back over here into the open towards A Long. And now he's going to look for more, too. If they do move forward, back onto the site, try and hold themselves better. Kusta is still at semi, and he's called it off as clear. But the T's as smokes are now moving in, as they will try to take control up here. Breezy has a great lineup for one. He fails to see Kusta here, though, and Kusta's going to get one. He'll get the second against Marky. He hasn't realized it yet, but there's another one right in the open against him. Peter doesn't kill him on the first peek, and Kusta misses the second shot, so it lets Peter into the site. He'll be able to plant with only 10 seconds remaining. Ricky knows he's right out there, though. The smoke is faded, but oh my god, Ricky wasn't able to get that kill as he had him dead to rights, so Peter somehow clutches it out, and NRG get their fourth.
Yeah, and that was a huge round. CLG gets reset, 2100, 2000 across the board. Kusa does a great job at the site. Ethan kind of crowds him. He definitely made a mistake moving from headshot there. Even if he has an MP9, just staying at headshot, just constantly jiggle peeking, making them look at you is going to make Kusta's job a lot easier. Instead, he just runs right into Kusta and, dies for no reason, essentially.
So once again, for having this much of an advantage here, CLG's economy certainly is not showing it due to the closeness of these rounds that we've seen before. So they're back onto upgraded pistols and armor for quite a few of their players, and SMGs for the other two. It's Kusta and Cutler that have those SMGs. Everybody else is working with a 5.7 Deagle or CZ. But if a trap has been laid, though, in the connector, is Naps going to realize it as he goes into the corner? No, one goes down. There'll be a trade, and another kill outside, I believe, towards Monster there into this secondary tunnel. But Ricky himself able to tag back in for a little bit more damage. Still even, but NRG do have the advantages. Now they've also got site control to work with, and Peter has them cornered off so they can't flank back around towards Monster itself. Not a whole lot of breathing room being given, as a lot of those guys were also still stuck up towards A at the time of this push. They're just now rotating down. Kusta himself still waiting to see if Marky will swing back out. Tells his teammate to regroup with them here, looking for any advantage that they can gain against these T's here. And the flash goes out, but the aim really just not there. Ricky's also going to fall in the process, so for Kusta, not a whole lot that really can be done here. He'll have a choice made whether he wants to sit back and wait and see if he can catch one or two of them on exit, and if not, he can at the very least save the UMP.
Yeah, CLG kind of going for it there, just buying with 2,000. They knew if they won that round, they would probably end up winning this half, like with 11 or 12 rounds. So they do just opt to force buy, but now they're definitely going to be on a save, and next round they still can't get ops and whatnot. Their money bonus is actually 500 more than it would have been because they lost those 2 in a row before they started that type of saving. So Ricky getting a Zeus, we'll see where he puts that. But just a lot of kills. That's like some of the problem with CLG is just a lot of the kills that when you have like players from like Cloud9 or whatever on, right, or Liquid or Optic, it's like almost like for certain they're going to get those kills. They're not going to get confused. They're not going to look the wrong way. They're going to just have like their proper crosshair placement, and it's going to be like almost certain they're going to get them. But CLG's problem a lot of time is like you can never just assume that player is going to succeed in the position that they're in.
Well, Marky's already found himself a kill this time against CLG, succeeding from his own position there as he takes down Ricky. As for the other 4 here, again, really just trying to hold out and punish extra aggression from NRG if they do get a bit greedy. You can see good Molotovs, though, just completely push FNS back. And for Ethan, he's trying to play around Toxic a bit. He's actually gotten quite a decent amount of damage off, specifically onto Breezy, but he's about to be pushed from Construction, which should spell his doom pretty quickly. There you go. He goes down without much trouble after that. And for Kusta, we'll see if he can actually find a battle this time. He was pretty disconnected from everything that last round. In fact, I think he had to scavenge this one before, but working with it, going through, just basically trying to clear everything out that it would be safe for him to check on and see if he can get any kills. But if not, there's not really going to be any attempt at a retake at all here. They are giving it up once again and looking to save what they have and try to impact against NRG a little bit going into this last round.
Yeah, and they'll have a pretty good buy for this last round. And I think I think if CLG wins this last round, they're in a pretty good position on the T side, but I don't know, man. I think the T side might be pretty difficult for them, just judging by like the differences in the aim duels that I see. You know, I think in general, besides, you know, maybe Daps, well, definitely probably Daps, like we see just a big difference, you know, like when people just fight each other a lot of the time, and it just seems very NRG sided. So I'm curious what's going to happen on the T side, or what CLG is really going to do, bring to the table. If they're going to do like a lot of executes, if they're going to play a little bit looser. I'd assume they try to play together and, you know, just take map control and then do some type of an execute. I think that's more like the CLG style.
Well, they are going out early on here to try and make sure that they don't get rushed from short A or anything like that. Specifically, Kusta goes down, I think, into the connector, actually, to check tires out downstairs over there. And he does get himself hit with a pretty nasty nade because of that. Already down at 48 HP, and is pretty quickly going to end up retreating over to the A-bomb site. It is a 3-stack fully on to B this time, however, from CLG due to just the general rapidness of plays we continue to see from NRG going down over towards B, even when it is deployed later into the round. Certainly can't hurt to have this much manpower over here. And as they go in, though, Breezy, the entry power man here. And for Ethan, he swings back out, but it's Ricky making all the actual kills here. He finishes off the job on Demarki and Breezy. He was able to, if Ethan was able to find either of those 2 kills, though, we'd be looking at a much different situation right now. It's still under the control for CLG, as Kusa does sneak another one in against these guys. But with the loss of Ricky, we're right back into tricky territory here for the CTs now. As we have seen Cutler move his way over here to get control towards the pit. But they also are giving NRG a whole lot of room to renegotiate their own positions and counter this one back out. They failed to realize that Cutler had actually gone downstairs, though, so he's able to trick out Daps, and they've just smoked out Peter. So he's got to be the one to make a move as they are moving back in, and that smoke still has plenty of time left on it. No utility friend to play with. He goes in, finds some damage on the way into this one, bringing Kusta down to 18 HP, but now it's still sitting behind the smoke, waiting for CLG to locate him. He's gone back inside. They still haven't been able to see him. He gets the back of one of them, and wasting so much of it, he pulls his knife out, but there's no time left for the defuse. So Peter does it again, and it's NRG that pick up a 7th to end the half. Ladies and gentlemen, do stick with us. Is coming up in just a few moments. We're going to be bringing the second half right back to you here on Overpass.
ESL Pro League is brought to you in part by Logitech G, Pay Safeguard, Mountain Dew League, and ESEA.
And welcome back again. A series of interesting clutches have allowed for NRG to swing back here on their first map of the day on Overpass. Originally, I think it was CLG leading somewhere like 8-4, something like that. May have been even a little bit more dominant, but they brought it back, and now we're basically at a dead even scoreline going into the second half.
I mean, there was just a lot of just mental errors, just blunders throughout that CLG CT side. I mean, I'm telling you, positionally speaking, they played great. Everybody was in great spots throughout that half. Missing critical kills, not looking at people, like running towards bathrooms when you're hearing party the entire time and looking away from them. Unsilencing your silenced M4 when you have a free kill for a big round and a, round that you'd probably pretty easily win. Guy with the kit not getting on the bomb in the last round. Like, those type of errors are why they are not winning that half 11-4, 12-3. It's just... It's crazy to see because they're all in great spots. They're all in great positions, and then they just choke. Yeah, they just choke. It's like watching. All right, I don't really watch golf that often, but it's like when you see somebody and they're right at the hole.
Yeah.
You know, on the green or whatever, and they just miss little chippies. Just like COG misses these little chippies all the time.
They overshoot it by like 2 inches or something like that.
Yeah, just all the time. I mean, we saw it like 5 or 6 times that happened.
Yeah.
That would have, and if that didn't happen, it's 12-3, 11-4, and they are just in a dominant position. Instead, now we have a pretty even match and a pretty even game.
Well, getting into it here, Daps is going to take the initiative to get really aggressive here right from the bat of things. He's got no support at all. This is a lone man mission right here as he tries to push over there and sneak his way into the playground, but it's just utterly denied by Ricky.
Yeah. Usually you don't see the guy that's like 4-12 do that, but all right. Go for it, Daps.
So down goes Daps, and it's actually, you don't because it's really only 1 or 2 players that do get spotted in the process of that. There isn't going to be a big rotation. However, from the CT side, you can see that they did move out towards construction and see that there is virtually no presence here towards the B bombs as they're boxing it out, hoping that they do come back down that connector, but it's certainly not going to be the case, which means all the defensive A is probably going to leave it in the hands of Marky here, and he's got at least 4 players that are going to be pushing from both long and short here. He spots Cutler. Nice tap, so to find the first one. I think he spotted the second player too, but right now he's more important. The more important job is really going to be staying alive here. Look at this position from Kusta though. He has had them completely bamboozled. One of these shots from Kusta here. He doesn't get any of them, and NRG somehow just swing in and pick up 3 kills back to back to back. CLG had such a huge advantage, and now FNS all in his lonesome. He tries to go for the plant to scavenge something out of this round, but no. NRG, they're now up to 8.
They're just Happy Gilmore, man. Like, just tap it in, man. Just tap it in. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so many times. They're right there.
Yep.
Oh, that's so frustrating to see. I mean, to be fair, a Glock shooting somebody in the back can be pretty annoying, but at the same time, he still got like 20 bullets off. So anyways, they lose that pistol, and now we see NRG, 8-8, playing against an eco. They're playing 2 in connector to throw nades, and then they fall back. I actually like that quite a lot.
The good opening nade, too, completely destroys Kusta's health pool. Not like he has much to contribute, unfortunately, with his Glock there, but still, we can see Daps swinging back into the bathrooms here. Daps is going to be playing with him, too. Peter finds 1 and a second. That's 3 more from CLG back on the outside there. Are going to be completely boxed out from this NRG. They've already got the read on this. They're already in full control, and they've even started to move the guys from B back downstairs a little bit there to watch out from the impending push. Every attempt to get aggressive and push past these smokes has been an utter failure, and it's more than likely going to be an easy 9th round here in a few moments. Once we see CLG try to push in with their last 2 players, it would take enormous mistakes from the side of NRG to now lose what they have going for them here. Although they do lose 1 player, Peter's in a good position, though, to sink his 3rd frag and 4th as he picks up both of the remaining players from the CLG side.
If there was one person who's Shooter McGavin on NRG, who is it?
On NRG?
Yeah.
I don't know, probably Daps.
Dapsy Shooter.
Yeah.
They need Carl Weathers to be their coach.
Who would Carl Weathers be in the NACS scene?
Ooh. There's nobody like Carl Weathers in the NACS scene.
Well, getting into the next one here, where CLG do just have basically nothing. Other side of the story, just Glocks. I think Ricky bought a P250. They do, however, actually have a pretty good angle to try and overwhelm Peter. Daps takes back in from the connector, though it does take out FNS. Peter himself is still kind of falling away, but they continue to go towards Daps in this little tiny choke point. So he picks up a second himself. More going to go in his direction, but it's just more lambs to the slaughter at this point, as now Marky's sitting behind the corpse of Daps. And yeah, it's not going to be too smart for Ethan or anyone else that would have been alive at that point to follow through. And as they do finally go back towards A, well, Peter's still waiting in the bathrooms. So they kind of get tricked in that one, and they're able to find, once again, 0 impact overall, with the exception of 1 or 2 frags there.
Yeah, and NRG is in the same spot that COG was in, during their CT side. And COG on the same round put 3 towards long A, if you remember, and they had those 2 guys towards B. So we'll see if they try to take some sort of a risk as well. Looks like they're going to get, aggressive at Fountain. Fugly throwing a molly towards it.
Daps FNS actually will play really close to the angle, so the CTs do move forward here. Then they might find themselves a bad day, but thankfully they held back. And again, it's just like we saw from some of the previous rounds here, where they kind of just move in, dip for a little bit of aggression, then fall back. This time, though, FNS is a bit more on the ball about things. He does actually push forward and cuts off Fugly before he can successfully retreat back into the bathrooms or just short A in general here. So they're going to be down a player, and Daps was hit for half of his own HP too. So it's not the greatest start for NRG. All they got to trade that out was like half of the HP off of Kusta.
Yeah, the aggression came out. That molly was supposed to stop, I think, where FNS was, so they weren't expecting him to be there quite that quickly. They kind of wanted to just look for opportunistic aggression. If they can get the kill, great. If not, fall back safely. And FNS kind of punishes that notion. Now we're going to see PTR getting flash pushed.
PTR is able to pick up one, but fails to realize the amount of aggression that was working its way in from the bathroom connector itself.
They don't have the bomb, though.
As they're moving in, there's no one really falling back to go and retrieve it. Now there is, though. I think Cutler gives it up. Daps, though, is ready, but the spray is off, unfortunately, so FNS will take him down. Breezy realizes where two of these players are, though, and he plans it perfectly, picks them both up, even goes over to his pistol for a third after he loses Marky, and now it goes down to a 1v1. Kusta realized the situation. The fact that they didn't commit this bomb does turn into a bit of a blessing, though, as now they can swing down through the connector and take this over to B with a good, 10 to 15 seconds to spare, getting it onto the site here.
But why don't they have the bomb, Blue? It's just every round they do something
all
ridiculous.
Part of the plan. As Breezy is going to move downstairs here now to try and actually go pretty directly about this, which could be a very bad thing for him. Kusa's looking directly at this peak position if he goes forward, but he'll change his spot. Now checking towards Heaven. The timing at the moment actually is working out a little bit towards Breeze. Going to give him site access, but when push comes to shove in the battle, and when they both find each other, Kusta will still get the better of them, and CLG will win out the round, keeping this game close.
Yeah, fantastic round by FNS. I mean, just gets three entries, actually. So, 3 entries. Ends up in a 1v1, unfortunately, because NRG kind of reads the play very early on because of that PTR push. And now this is exactly what happened last half, except CLG was on the CT side. It's going to be another very critical round. PTR has the op, though this time they're going to push sewers. He's going to try to get aggressive and make a 4v5.
It's really aggressive control being taken by the CTs, not just over here towards the sewers either, but it's Daps moving all the way into connector to deny all the presence there. They've even blown out the door to check it. Problem is, though, this is going to leave Monster wide open for them to push back in. They do have a cross angle to work with, though, now from Construction, but it's 1-for-1 at the start, and immediately T's just smoke it back off. Breezy's going to play back. He's going to play Secret Agent here, try to get as much intel as possible. Denies the first attempt at a plant. Now they know that he's here, though, and he's just going to fall back to his safe spot. Doesn't realize that he gets jumped over upon by Ethan over in Toxic, however. So they move back in, but now more Molotovs are going to continue to spread out these Ts, deny them the opportunity to get this bomb on the ground, and allow for more time for NRG to kind of rotate back in and plan their own retake here. There's still a minute on the clock, so the Ts are not really pressured at all, but they've got to watch out over here because in Monster in a second they are going to be pushed in, and no one was paying attention to it. So Fugly gets one for free. They've also lost Daps, though, as you saw, back behind those sandbags, so it's still
gonna get bomb and
essentially an even battle, and yeah.
They see that they're flanking and that there's nobody CT.
It's taking a little bit too long for NRG to actually initiate this retake, so they do fall away on the CLG side, and they're going to run directly up towards A. I think that pretty quickly NRG are going to realize this, though, and go about their own chase, so thankfully it all works out at the same time. NRG should still have a good 20 to 30 seconds to get themselves back into this site, and they'll work it from both angles, too, as Peter pushes in from the connector end of it, and Fugly just goes directly at it from the backside. Moving over here, though, towards those steps is where he's going to have problems against Ricky, but he checks for it. Does he check all the way in the backside? No, he does, and it works out. Taking down Ricky, Ethan has to clutch 1v2 with a single health point, and he won't be able to do it. Peter shuts down the last player, and NRG will be able to push forward now up to 11, again reclaiming a bit of a lead for themselves.
Yeah, that was really on Ricky to win that round, and you kind of expect him to win that round. I mean, a 2v2 when you have 100 HP, it's planted for you. You have CT spawn control on the A site. You really got to convert, when it comes to that. CLG, just a crazy hectic round there. I mean, trying to plant with like no cover, just bomb going down like that. Just so many mental errors by CLG.
Yeah, now for NRG here, most of their players again splitting up early on. We did see Ricky moving pretty quickly over there towards the water to try and get control here, but while he does spot a player jumping over for intel, there's not really going to be a whole lot gained off of that. And again, with just P250s and 1 Deagle purchase from Ethan, there's not a lot to be expected overall from CLG in this round. They are still moving pretty securely, though, through short A, yet to have been spotted since the A players on NRG's side didn't really use any aggression at all in this round. They're both just holding back on the site, getting prepared for an eventual push. That's Daps and Peter working together in that route, with the other 3 still playing pretty consistently downstairs here. Peter actually hasn't spotted any of this yet, so it may be a bit surprising for both him and Daps when they do move in, as Peter's basically the front line for this battle here. Gets 1 though, and now challenged over in semi. Daps will get 1, almost gets the 2nd. Peter comes in to assist with the pistol, but he's going to lose his teammate, and he gets flashed back out, which leads to his own death. So that's site control at the very least. Unfortunately, the bomb kind of went out into the open, so a bit of an awkward shovel there, but I still think they're safe to get the plant here. And Ricky basically trying to hold it out. He does get a nice dink, but it's only bringing one of them down to 23 HP. CT's very quickly flooding back in, leads to the loss of Cutler, and for Ricky with, again, just the, now Deagle upgrade at the very least, he's going to get chased out. They'll prioritize just the aggression there to flush him out and really not waste any time about this. Another retake from NRG, another round up on the board to put them up at 12.
Yeah, I believe CLG is going to be able to buy here. I mean, they did get the bomb down. Nice little round by them, you know, putting it into a 2v3 with the bomb down, with that type of buys that they had. Now we see a tactical pause, assuming it's going to be from CLG.
Yeah, it'll be CLG's tactical pause here as they're heading into a pretty important gun round. They've really only got, you know, 1 or 2 left to work with here if things continue to go badly for them. So needing a second to re-strategize and figure out how exactly they can turn this back around. As similarly to our last half, they've been able to get a little bit close, but quite a few series of loopy mistakes has allowed for NRG to continue their comeback, now to take it into the lead, where NRG is actually about to take control of the map if this goes on any further, as the scoreline is getting a bit desperate now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's got to be, I got to ask FNS after this. I'm going to ask him, I'm like, do you watch and see how you guys lose rounds? Do you see how this plays out? Because this has got to be the most frustrating experience. You know, to essentially, you know, be put in this situation where you probably should have won the game by now. You know, you really should have, or at least, you know, been up like 15 to 6 or something.
Early Molotov, I believe, though, as NRG tried to get a little bit aggressive there, actually does quite a bit of damage when you look at like Peter and Marky here. I think it goes over there towards construction somewhere. So Peter loses half of his own HP, Marky losing another 20. They smoke out the alternate angle, and this is going to be almost exactly like a few rounds back, actually, where CLG can just walk in through Monster for free. Breezy hasn't caught the first player, so they're all going to shuffle in now. He tries to smoke things off and flash it as well, but the intel was given so late. Also, Peter missing his first peek. Breezy just gets pegged with a flashbang on the way in, and Kusta, I think it's a jumping headshot against him. Ethan holding back now the rotating CTs, and it's all gone so bad so quickly for NRG that they may not even have an opportunity to retake. They're already falling back and calling a save. The round's over. It's going to be CLG's more than likely.
Yeah, well, they're calling a save very early on in this round, and they have no business even going for this retake, so I completely agree. They look at their money. It's not great at all. They're going to be able to buy again, but only because, you know, they are saving these guns. You know, even having said that, though, I'd probably go for, like, safe exits if I was them. We see PTR 23 and 12. Daps 8 and 19. 16 and 16 for Fugly and Breeze. And Marky not having a great game, 11 and 15. I think him and Breeze kind of need to lead the way for them rifle-wise. Fugly, although a great player, he's not usually, like, the guy that just gets these insane 4K rounds. He's, like, you know, a consistent player. He's going to do his job. He's not going to make you lose a game, but generally speaking, he's not going to like win the game for you as well.
And so coming off of that here, CLG will still have to go up against a full investment from NRG due to the save here. Okay. What happened there?
and the blooper reel continues.
What did he even do there?
This would be like the best blooper reel from a game that I have ever seen, I think. Can you think of another game that has like it just needs like the Benny Hill theme song throughout all of this?
That many like misclicks or miskeys or whatever from one team in the same game.
How good are our observers that they catch that? Imagine how much we've missed too, Blue. If you think about it, we're only watching like 30–40% of actually what's going on throughout the game. The blooper reel is probably 3 times longer than we think.
How many flashbangs have been flubbed over the course of this game?
It's hilarious.
And Peter gonna walk up. He actually does kind of clip one of the players here. Brings Ethan down to 40 HP. He's looking towards Long as he retreats, but all that action's coming from downstairs. So he's got to be careful now as he peeks into it, and there's a double. They both on CLG side shuffle out at the same time, which just goes right into his crosshair. He's even hopping around a bit to try and get Cutler to peek him, and it works. Cutler goes out into the open. That's the third one of the round for him, and CLG are down to 2 here. But look at how far Kusta got into the site before I don't even think he's been realized yet. There he is, surprised, but he gets nothing done. And oh my goodness, NRG just destroys CLG in that round.
Why didn't Kusta just kill him?
I
He just stopped. Maybe he's on the G403 and his mouse got unplugged or ran out of battery or something.
Yeah.
That's happened to me a couple times, Blue.
You gotta be careful, man.
Yep.
He does a setting on the battery warning, turn too low.
Nice job by PTR, though. I mean, he got out of dodge, like, somehow made it out alive. Anybody was long A, he's dead. But CLG just goes directly into the bathrooms. Now I'd be surprised if they're not on tilt.
Yeah, this is where things are probably gonna continue to spiral out of control here unless they can bring it together. They already used their pause as well. I'm still a bit unsure about the actual pausers here, whether they can do multiple at one half or not, but Cutler is going to find the first kill, so they've got their path back in. Breezy playing super aggressive on that sidewalk there too, so it does actually allow for a pretty easy path into the site here. And not only this, but they're also going to take down Daps on a rotate. So they pick up another one. They're actually able to recover pretty quickly after that last round, and they should win this one unless they go hunting too aggressive, which it does seem they are. So depending on how Peter does here, they could win the round with like 5 alive or at least 3 to 4 here. As Peter is actually going to find his first target in a moment, and he doesn't even realize it, so it does indeed end up being 5 alive and a free op will be scavenged for CLG.
It seems like, well, what is that? That's the second time they've just kind of went out dry along A and have made it. I think the round that they won before going out long A, they had 5 alive, right? That was 5v3, right?
It was B, but...
Yeah, B's. Yeah. Excuse me. B. No, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, basically just like these direct... Well, the last one was a little... The last one was...
When you get on tilt, sometimes it works, man. You force energy on an eco.
They slowed it down a little. I think the big problem was like Breezy didn't even see them going into Monster because they had a setup like that before on the NRG side, and they were able to retake it on a pretty similar round, but that time Breezy didn't see it coming, and it kind of just got destroyed, and Peter missed his first peek back in from construction.
Yeah, so a force buy coming out for NRG and CLG. I mean, despite all their struggles, they're still right in it. But I don't understand Daft's positioning here. I mean, he should get a kill. Oh. Doesn't because his second player checks, but he has 2. He's the guy with the kit, double flash and a Molotov, but he's playing a spot where he's basically just hoping that they don't check for him. Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
No.
Even the D- player. Blue.
So Marky is going to be able to grab the 2 for himself here. Tugging the wall in the bathrooms. Fugly even swings out there a little bit too and finds Ricky. Now with the AK, is he going to spot up top towards the fence? Oh my god, Kusta hasn't seen him down below. It's a bit of a standoff right now. If Kusta peeks, he isn't even looking towards out here, but hopefully the missed shot first from Fugly will only allow for Kusta to survive, but now he's alone in a 1v3. And he has no clear route into either of these sites. Even if he falls back, he's going to have to deal with players at the other end. Keep in mind, Fugly also, as we said before, he's got an AK to work with now too, so it's not just taking out like a P250 player here. He tries to flash over it. Fugly a little bit confused about the situation, so he does go down, but all the time wasted allowed for Peter to rotate back in, and just like that, NRG have stolen a round into the hands of CLG yet again.
Yeah, 4v5. I mean, Marky in the bathrooms just kills one in the back. Gets another nice little shot there. Just no round safe for CLG. At this point, they could lose to 5 tasers, Will, at any moment.
That would put them at a level like the main team. They lost to Selfless on that one round. That wasn't happened like a year ago.
Blue, I heard they're trying to make their own rank for you. D- is the lowest, right? But
yes, it is.
Somehow you're teetering on F.
Please don't give them ideas. I told you, man. It's because I keep playing with like people that are in like rank G and stuff, and then your rating just like doesn't move because of that. Mainly because I'm definitely not supposed to be playing at that rank, but
yeah.
I end up playing with like premier players and stuff.
You single-handedly just ruin games for people. You get in.
I get the Red Devil all the time.
You have 3 kills the whole game.
So it's coming down to the wire here now, but still allowing for CLG to buy back into it. It seemed like they were actually going to be able to kind of swing the scoreline back a bit after 2 rounds ago. But now, you know, we've kind of reset again, and it's right back into control for NRG. But the match is definitely not over yet here. Unfortunately, CLG low need, so they do have enough to make a site take, but the guys from NRG also have their own amount of it, so it's completely going to to completely sequence this site to a point where there's not a whole lot going on between them, but it is allowing for a couple picks here and there. 1-1, now 2-1 in the favor of NRG. Marky's still holding safe control in the pit. Kusa did sneak one off there, and he gets the second one. Finally, he's going to go down, however, to Fugly, leaving this into a 2v2. But for Finesse, he now moves in with Ricky, both playing together here behind the pole. Peter trying to move back in. He does spot the first player, but he has not realized that there's one in the pit. Misses the flick. He does have enough coverage though to duck back down. Assistance comes back in. Beautiful shot from Ricky though. One more to go. He cannot get it, and Fugly on a 4K goes out big for NRG, and is going to put them up on map point.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it just comes down to the individual just fails more often than not from CLG. I mean, I know we weren't watching FNS's screen there, but he definitely should have killed PTR. PTR whiffs that shot. FNS was running up on him. He had like 8-10 bullets where he had a position to kill him and just misses, right? Yeah. If he puts Ricky in a 1v1 there, he could just play the bomb. You know, they probably win that round. Now they're just going to say, hey, let's just do a B rush or a contact B play. All 5 towards that area of the map. But this is, NRG knows exactly what's happening. They push Fountain. They see that nobody's there. They burn all their nades between Breeze and Marky. So they should know exactly what's happening, and it's slowed down CLG, and now they should be able to push and like contain them and kind of dictate what happens this round. We'll see though if they take, looks like they might take a bit more of a passive setup.
They box them back out here. So it does kill the initial plans, as you were mentioning, to just directly rush back into the bomb site. Now really just running down the timer. Peter even being pulled back to the site as he doesn't see anything in A long there, so they still know it's coming in here. They've already got 4 players in B defending it. Really just keeping Peter up on top as an insurance policy here. Marky dig to 6, but he does get the first kill. A trade from FNS with Breezy with another one. Now Daps will get a little bit aggressive, but he's actually having trouble sinking the kill. Thankfully the smoke does cause some confusion, allows him to find one before going down, and ultimately it is going to be the 16th and final round for NRG as they push through to win out this map and take control for today, starting off 1-0.
What a game, Blue.
Yeah, definitely not the highlight reel for CLG in that one.
I was entertained. I was entertained.
Not in the way that they would like.
I mean, look, the CLG, I'm telling you, man, like the way they played as a team, positioning, mid-game decisions, mid-round decisions as like a team, right?
Yeah.
Was fantastic. They changed their setup CT side. They outwitted NRG and were a step ahead multiple times throughout that CT half especially. But just as individuals, they can't convert off of it. They can't take that huge advantage that they get by just outsmarting them essentially in 5v5 CS and being one step ahead. But they can never convert it to round wins because they just do ridiculous things that you never see happen. We saw it happen like 8 times.
Yeah, it's far too many for one map at least. And well, there's a second one coming up here in just a little bit. But before we get to that, we are going to send it back over to our analysis desk to talk a little bit more about what just happened here in map number 1. So Stunna, take it away and lead us through the discussion about the match here on Overpass.
Appreciate you, Blue. Appreciate you, Dazed. Well, right there, we just saw a good matchup between CLG and NRG across Overpass. Before we get into our next map, which is going to be Inferno, let's kind of recap Overpass a little bit. I
mean, I think Daze put it pretty nicely. It was a bit of a low light reel in that sense, from especially from CLG. And I think the biggest thing was that during that entire CT side, CLG played better CS, like positionally wise, strategically wise. They had full control over that map for pretty much the entire time, but they failed individually. And it's not like just like, obviously you can expect people to slip up every now and again and miss a shot here and there. But it was just just a collective breakdown a lot of the times. It was just silly mistakes. Like FNS, for instance, when he like tries to turn off his silencer and stuff like that, when he's flanking, you don't see that every day. But just every mistake possible that they could have done, they did it. And they did it in succession, which is kind of amazing to watch in a twisted way. But to me, I was like, in a normal world, that would have been like CLG taking this map like 16-5 or something.
Yeah, I mean, their CT started out, well.
Super well.
They were flashing for each other. There was good teamwork there on the retakes.
Yeah, exactly. And they were getting reads, initially off of the basic setups that NRG were doing. And they knew what was coming each and every time.
Well, we don't have many highlights from that one, but we're going to load up round 7 right now. Vendetta, why don't you go ahead and take a walk down round 7 with me.
Yeah, so this is pretty much what we talked about, the fact that CLG are positioned well throughout the entire half. And right now you can see, because they're getting smoked out as NRG are trying to put pressure on towards A, but because FNS is in a forward position by the flower bed there, he's actually going to get all the kind of information. He's going to make an aggressive push around any second now, which is going to give the entire team, full notice. They're going to understand that NRG are going towards the B bomb site, and they're actually going to be allowed to set up a proper defense. And FNS is actually going to get into a great position where he actually has the opportunity to flank. I think it's Marky on short there. So even though if Ethan goes down here, it's not the end of the world. CLG have all the information to play with that they need to actually win the round. And there you see, kind of messes up, switches to the silencer. Exactly. And it's those kind of rounds. Obviously, you can see the score is already 5-1 for CLG. This could have been 6-1. And like, if you just eliminate these mistakes that shouldn't be there in the first place, you have CLG going on a bit of a run instead of just letting in those 1 and 2 rounds in here and there that actually gives NRG a fighting chance.
I mean, all it takes at any given point in any round is one frag here, or one we drop the bomb here. That's all it takes. That's how cool Counter-Strike is all around.
Yeah, another example of that, especially, dropping the bomb, right? You had a bit of a, muffled or miffed A-take from CLG in a situation where they've actually forgotten the bomb, so Kus is able to pick it up as the kind of last guy who's like, oh, guys, I need to pick that up. Ends up in a 1v1 situation where he actually gets an open plant on the other bomb site simply because of it. Obviously, it's a mistake that's not supposed to happen. Kus is obviously supposed to be there with the bomb with the rest of the team as they're going A, but, it gives them another opportunity even off the back of another mistake that they make.
Well, even over going back to the CT side of CLG, we saw Kusta and Ricky both pick up the op. We saw a double op setup.
Yeah.
And that's proving to be effective over there for those guys.
Yeah, like for the start of it, it was actually very effective, but it also has its downside. Obviously, we know that double op setups are extremely expensive to be able to sustain, and that's, and that kind of adds to it all. When you have these kind of fluke rounds every now and again, that gives NRG the 1 round off, and obviously resets your, it doesn't reset your money bonus, but, makes you have to reinvest over and over again. And when you do that with a double up setup, you're going to go broke much faster. And that's the kind of thing that CLG actually, or ended up biting CLG in the behind eventually, because you can't afford to have those kind of quasi buys where maybe you just put up with SMGs like UMPs and 5.7s, maybe you Colt here or there because you've had 2 ops, right? You're going to have to basically diversify your economy amongst the team so heavily that once guys broke, you're completely broke, and they had to double eco, and that again allows for NRG to get closer and closer in what was, not a very strong first half for them, even though the result would tell you that, 8-7, not that bad considering how everything started.
Absolutely. Well, unfortunately didn't pan out for them, but we do have one more map for you guys. It's going to be Inferno. So when we come back from this break, we're going to get right back into CLG versus NRG here at the ESL Pro League Season 5.